Hastings?
Good evening, everybody. This is the City of Grand Haven Special City Council Work Session of February 20th, 2023, and it's hereby called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe,
Here.
McLaughlin, Cummins,
Here.
McNally.
Here. I think we've got two presentations this evening. Is Shar going to go first?
Yep.
Okay. Shar, are you out there? There she is. I saw her coming in, so I know she's not far away.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Shar Sese, Community Affairs Manager for the City of Grand Haven, and I'm just here to give the community an update of the rebrand of Central Park Place. So for those who are listening, Central Park Place is an events and arts community center that has over 10,000 square feet of space that we use. It was built back in 1966. And a year ago, we decided in order to recover from COVID, we needed to do something. And City Council was gracious enough to adjust our budget and allow us to take some money out of our capital improvement plan funds, and we embarked on our rebrand. So Central Park Place is a community gathering space where people come from everywhere. Visitors come for wedding receptions, baby showers, life celebrations, business meetings, and performances and art shows. So we are even at times, as needed, a place where you can seek refuge in case of an emergency. We're oftentimes called out to be a warming center or a cooling center in the summertime. So in council's packet, there was a brief memo in regards to the current progress of the things that we've done recently. And I just want to capitalize on a few things, add in a couple of things, and be available to answer any questions that you might have. In our last fiscal year, we were able to increase the number of rentals that we actually had, both pro bono and paid rentals. We did some calculations, and we served a little bit over 34,000 people in that year, which was wonderful. We did actually meet our financial goal for our rental revenue. Midstream throughout the year last year, we actually asked for a budget amendment, thinking we weren't going to reach our goal, and then we actually ended up exceeding it. So that was a good positive thing that we were super excited about. We're actually 2 months ahead of our financials from last year. So we really anticipate, based on the number of rentals that we've had and what's on the books coming forward, that we're going to exceed that again and hopefully be ahead of the game maybe by a couple of months by the end of the fiscal year. In preparation for our budget that's coming up, we're looking at increasing the number of rentals that we have and increasing that revenue. And so we have a projection that we will try to achieve $170,000 in revenue for the next fiscal year. We've done a lot of things in the building. I think one thing that I can honestly say is I think we've embraced our mid-century modern vibe. That seems to be where we landed with our logo and whatnot. It really lends well to that. And we've done some things. We've done our painting has been updated. We've gotten some new carpet in the ballroom. And as you can see right there, you've got a lovely art show that was hung for a couple of months this fall, and we have regularly monthly scheduled art shows that are taking place there with various artists from throughout the community. We do have our first annual Encounter the Arts event that was held this fall, and Ashley is just showing you our new website. That's one of our great accomplishments this year as well. But our Encounter the Arts event was a great opportunity to engage the residents and visitors in the arts, and we had demonstrations and experiences, and it was really well attended, and it's something that we want to continue to do for years to come. We plan to have our new AV equipment installed in our ballroom. That's part of our fiscal year budget this year. So we've all experienced the pain sometimes in the different events that have taken place in there. So we should have that good to go before the end of this fiscal year. We're working on rental packages. That's an area that we really want to concentrate on as we're trying to engage people into the facility. Because we have so many visitors and because Grand Haven is such a great place to be, we want to be able to engage people in other activities that might be important for them if they're here for a weekend getaway, maybe connecting them to the charter fishing or maybe to Skydive Grand Haven, certainly exposing them to our restaurants and shops downtown. So we're working on some of those things as part of our new marketing strategy. We've gotten some new partnerships. Leverage Marketing is a tenant in our lower level offices, and part of that partnership is they are doing some of our marketing for us on social media. And that's been really beneficial because they keep us on brand and keep getting out there to the community what is happening in the facility. We have had a new partnership with Life Church as a new tenant. They've made some investments in some of our audio-visual equipment inside of the auditorium, so if you have an opportunity to come to a Central Park Players performance or maybe are inclined to come to the church service on Sunday morning, the sound is really amazing compared to what it has been. They've also provided some training because it's a little bit more in-depth than what we've been used to in the past. And when we have other renters that maybe need a run-through, they're more than willing and able to help us with training those other renters, which is great. We have some presets that make it really easier, much easier for us than the whole soundboard and whatnot that's in there. And then they also were able to create the coffee cart. And I don't know, Ashley, if that was in one of those first slides, but no, I don't see it there. But anyway, we do have
seen it in other
in other pictures.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that coffee cart kind of evokes that that sense of community, that sense of, come and sit a while, have a cup of coffee, stay and visit. So that's been a really great benefit as well, and we are serving the local Aldea coffee from that coffee cart. Another unique partnership that we were able to obtain with a lot of our entertainment that has been planned. A lot of people want to have a beverage for a show, or maybe at another musical event, and we don't hold a liquor license, so that's not something that we can provide as a service to our customers. But we did find 6 nonprofits who were willing to partner with us. They can obtain 12 individual liquor licenses in a year. Maybe they use a couple of them for fundraising events, and the other ones sit off the table being unused. And so that worked out really, really good this fall. We had a lot of activity. And we expect to engage more nonprofits as part of our new partnership concept.
Char, can I interrupt just for a second?
Yes.
Like, give me an example. Who's doing that for us?
So we have, I'll just read them off. Kenzie's Bee Cafe, Eat Well, Do Good, Gracious Grounds, Homeless Prevention Partners, Bluebird Cancer Retreats, and a group called Kogan Con that does anime type expos in our facility.
So do we rotate through them? Is that?
Yep, so what we do is we make available all the activities that are taking place, and then based on what their schedule is, who they can get to volunteer, then they pick where they want to participate.
And when they do this, do all the fundraising proceeds go to them, or do some go to the community center?
No,
They go
it does
to them.
all go to them, yes. As I said earlier, some of our goals for the next fiscal year is we'd really like to host 1,000 events. That could be a combination of paid patrons and nonprofit, not nonprofit, but non-paid events. So we will host several blood drives, for example. We do not charge the American Red Cross to come in and do the blood drive. We are looking at creative ways to reduce costs and increase our revenue. One of those ways of doing that is not giving as many pro bono services away. For those organizations that may be able to pay something, we'd like to start to charge half of the lowest rate, and then ask them to do some of their setup and their tear down. If we're not getting anything for the rental, and then we're paying for our DPW staff to come in and do our setup and tear down, we're losing twice on that end of things. So that's one of our strategies for this year. All of our smaller room rentals, we are proposing $25 rate increases for each room for the 4-hour rentals, and then the 8-hour rentals incrementally. And then we haven't done any rate increases for our amenities. So for example, we have a grand piano that we rent. We do screens, projectors, microphones, just to name a few things. We're going to do some proposed rate increases in those areas as well. And then probably one of the biggest things that we're proposing a change for next year is to raise our rental rates for wedding receptions 25%. So that is in line with what is happening in our community, and not putting us in a non-competitive area. So that's something that we're also proposing in our upcoming budget. Let's see, what other things? Oh goodness, all of our community partners. So we have a lot of activities that are already taking place inside of the building with organizations like NORA, the YMCA, Grand Haven Area Public Schools. We've got a couple of community organizations that are invested in the arts that come and rent space from us. So we are having musical performances from an organization called Music Every Day. Artios Academy is a quasi homeschool group that doesn't have a place to perform. They have been performing in our theater. We're working on some partnerships with Walk the Beat. Guitar Haven has a great location downtown here to be able to give individual guitar lessons, but they don't have a space large enough to do group guitar lessons, so they're looking at coming to host some things at the facility as well, and doing a couple of weeks of summer camp with us, which is really exciting. So really, we do have a lot of work to do still. We've made a lot of progress. I'm really excited about where we have come from, and I look forward to where we're headed. I do have three board members of our 5 here tonight, so I would like to thank them really for their dedication to what it is we're trying to accomplish. being diligent to look at our finances, look at how we're doing our marketing, and are we hitting all of the target areas that we really need to in order to be the type of venue that we told you we were working towards. So I'm very grateful for their support and direction in all that we're doing. And lastly, I think that I would like to say thank you to City Council for believing in the vision and for supporting us as we work towards this. I think that you're going to see great things, and I think if we achieve what we set out with the direction of our board, we are going to see Central Park Place as a vibrant community facility that will serve generations to come. And that's all I have.
Questions, anybody? Karen? Nope. Ryan?
Well, I just want to commend you, Shar, and your board for the work that you've done really at a short period of time to have a rebrand and have an increase in rentals, revenues, to really take the space and make it truly have a sense of place and bring so many different types of activities in and so many different unique users and end users, and from large to small. It's really pretty impressive to finally fill that lower level to have a long-term tenant there, and obviously lots of other partnerships with others, but just really great work, great momentum. Really want to thank you for the update. You've done a lot of hard work, and so has your board, so thank you.
Thank you.
Let me second that. I didn't have any questions, but thank you for all your work, and thank you to your board. Particularly, it's very impressive. Well done.
Mike?
Sure. Yeah, I want to say thank you. I've always wanted to see that place filled. My whole intention since I've been on here, I always said that as long as we have somebody in there, it makes it more viable and a lot more to do. Even for Cub Scouts, if they can only afford $25 and they're only going to be there for an hour or whatever, I just soon have that room filled and sitting empty, because what it does, it gives us more focus. People come in and see what we have, and it passes the word around. So I got to say thank you guys for at least keeping it moving, but got to be very careful when you start raising rates and that, because if you want to attract people, you got to make sure that you can get the stability there and start building it good, and then you can slowly bring your rates up a little bit on it for them. So that's my only concern, would be just making sure that we keep the momentum going and we don't stifle it by increasing the large increases. You don't want to do large ones, because then you would just push them off someplace else. I just love the idea. I like the way it looks. Shar, my wife spends some time in there. Her and her friends stop in all the time to see what's in there. So it's a great place to be. And since it was first built, I remember when it was built, it was never a profit maker. If we could make 50%, it was always a good thing, because it was, at the time, it was called the community center, and that's what it's for. It's for the community to use. So the more we can get it out there, the more the community can use it. I tell you, it's going to be a great thing. And I really like what you guys are doing. It's moving along very well. So thank you so very much, everybody.
Shar, I wonder, since they've been kind enough to come out, if you would introduce the board members
Absolutely.
that you have who are here.
Absolutely. Dawn Wolf is our newest member. We have Jim Parenta in the back. He is our chair, and Doug Van Oss.
Thank you. And with regard to your goal this year is 1,000 events, I wondered how that would compare. Like last year, how many events would we have had roughly?
Sure. Last year we had a little bit over 100 or 800, and that combined both our pro bono and our paid rentals.
Nice. I'm going to echo everyone else's comments and thank you for your hard work. I know it's a labor of love, and I think it's a remarkable facility. So I hope the community understands what a resource it is and embraces it. And everything you do to bring people in for any reason exposes them to the possibilities that exist in that building. So, and with a great staff and a great support system. So thank you, Shar.
Thank you.
Okay.
And the new sign is scheduled to go up tomorrow.
Oh boy, is there an unveiling? Nice.
An important piece. Yep.
Yep. Okay, our next presentation is on the
Thank you.
Grand Haven Master Plan update, and it looks like it's James Kilborn, Associate Planner from Progressive AE.
Yes. Hello, council members, members of the public. I want to thank you for having me here tonight. Tonight, we get to discuss the master plan update. This has been a long time coming, but we're excited to present it to you guys, and we think we have it in a good spot, and we just want to highlight that today. So, just a real brief agenda. We want to talk about the scope of the master plan update. This began back in November of 2021, so it's been a while, but we just want to highlight that, as well as discuss the summary of the community engagement we've heard to this point and how that's been reflected in our proposed changes to the master plan. So, setting the stage, the state of Michigan, they mandate that master plans are updated every 5 years. Typically, this just involves like an update of demographics, revising goals and objectives, making sure they're still consistent and current with the desires of the community. So that's really, that was the intent of this master plan update process, is making sure this is a current document. In many ways, it's, an update is kind of like a bridge between, a revised, an entirely new master plan and, doing that process again. So this is really kind of that bridge, making sure things are current, that we're in alignment with where we want to be as a community. So looking at the scope that was given back in November of 2021, we worked with the Ottawa County Department of Strategic Impact. They revised the demographic data of the plan, as well as then we took kind of the community engagement aspect, as well as updating park facilities, future land use, goals and objectives, kind of the more intensive things you associate with land use planning. So it was a great process, but that was the original scope here. So looking into the community engagement we had a community survey that went out in February of 2022. It ran until May of 2022. We had 578 responses, which roughly it's about 5% of all residents in Grand Haven, which it doesn't sound like a lot at first blush, but that's 1 in 20 people, which there are a lot of communities where you don't even get that. So I think I just want to say that as encouragement. I think there's a lot of people who really want to offer their input in the future of the city of Grand Haven. We also had a community open house, as well as a leadership committee that helped inform the plan, kind of acted as guidance, making sure that we, our proposed changes are in alignment with the community's desires. And out of that, we had 3 key themes here. I don't think these are surprising to you guys. This is protecting and emphasizing natural features, looking at the abundance of nature in Grand Haven, from coastal dunes to back dune forests to the Grand River, as well as Lake Michigan. You just have an abundance of natural features that people want to cherish and really preserve. And then the next point was focusing development in appropriate areas. People see housing as an important need in the region, but with that said, they really like the community feel, the neighborhoods they live in. So really focusing development in areas that can accommodate that with existing infrastructure. And then as well as increasing connectivity between neighborhoods. People really want to be able to ride their bike or walk to a neighborhood store, walk to places here in the city. So that was highlighted as a key objective of this plan. So I just included some comments from the surveys. These just kind of bolster these key themes here. This one's talking about natural features. You can see that people value the beautiful nature, Lake Michigan, the waterfront, access to nature through trails, sidewalks, things of that nature. As well as focusing development in appropriate areas. This, I think comment 132 is interesting because it kind of illustrates kind of an east-west divide in the city. And a key aspect of this planning process was looking at Beacon Boulevard. It's really the defining east-west feature in the city. And how can we better increase connectivity across Beacon Boulevard? That's a major factor that we want to account for. And that is a good segue into the third key theme, which is just doing that, increasing connectivity. So looking at walking, biking paths, how we can get people moving within the city, whether they're in a car or whether they're walking, whether they're biking around. So diving into the future land use plan, this is on the left side, you can see the current future land use plan and then the proposed future land use plan. You'll see that much of it is unchanged. It's a very light touch that we took to this plan. But I just want to highlight the three changes that we proposed. And the first one was looking at Washington Avenue. We noted that there's a lot of, we call them activity centers. These are places that people congregate in, businesses, lots of places that people like to go and spend time in. And one of the big key drivers of the plan was how to connect people to these places, and as well as increasing connectivity across Beacon Boulevard along Washington Avenue. So acknowledging that, but then also looking at the Bascule Bridge, and as you're coming south into the community, this is really the gateway. This is kind of the front porch of the community in many senses. And this is how people interact with the city as they're coming in. So with that, we looked at the current future land use plan, and we proposed the expansion of the traditional neighborhood mixed use district. So this reflects kind of what the Easttown character area is currently. Many of these blocks are already of a similar character. So in being consistent with that, we proposed that change, as well as looking at the commercial uses kind of north of Madison, Jackson area, and designated that for mixed-use redevelopment. So those are larger commercial lots. We're not saying they're going to change, but just in the event that they do, just adding that flexibility and creating opportunities for better interaction with the Grand River Channel.
Are you talking on the east end specifically?
Yeah, kind of east of Beacon Boulevard, yes.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah. And if you guys have questions, I mean, by all means, like this, I don't want to just be shooting content at you guys. But yeah, looking at proposed change number 2, this isn't so much a revision as it is a correction in the 2016 plan. So 2016 plan, they have it designated as, Beech Tree Service Residential in the plan, but then in the map, it's designated as service commercial, which is more in line with what occurs along South Beacon Boulevard. So really we're saying, we're really fixing that and making it service residential in both the plan and the map. So it really isn't a change so much as it's just making the map in alignment with what the text says.
And service residential would be mixed use, basically?
Mixed use, yeah, kind of local businesses that help, support, local neighbors come, less like strip shopping centers and things of that nature.
But potentially also residences above, that kind of thing?
Potentially, yes. And then looking at proposed change number 3, just briefly, this is South Beacon Boulevard, which was highlighted as a location people want better connectivity along, as well as more green space and like a buffer for surrounding neighborhoods. So looking at these large lot commercial developments in this area, much like proposed change number 1, we're saying, what currently exists there, it's fine, but in the future there may be development opportunities, developing outlots, potential land uses that aren't car dealerships or large strip shopping centers. So really designating it as mixed use. Well, here's a graphic illustrating Beacon Boulevard and just the lack of connections from east to west. So I think that paints a really good picture of why we're going through this process and better efforts to kind of tie the community together across the US 31. And then going to the change, we are proposing mixed-use redevelopment in this area, looking at a lot of the legacy commercial and industrial uses, and just kind of increasing that flexibility of if there is redevelopment, just kind of allowing that. So with that said, those are the 3 changes we propose for the future land use map. Again, a very light touch. We're not changing much. But with that, I'd love to field any questions if you guys have any. Otherwise, we can talk about the adoption timeline as it stands.
Mike, want to go first?
No, I have no questions right now.
Okay. Ryan?
Yeah, well, I was part of the steering committee process, so I'm a little more up to speed on some of this. One thing so I want to thank our steering committee members and Progressive A&E. You guys have had different changes in staff. We've had changes in staff, and everybody's done a good job of trying to be cohesive, and we've had a lot of community members involved with that steering committee as well. So I appreciate the work product that we have here. I think we've kind of done a good job of kind of consolidating some goals, clarifying some things, taking out what we've accomplished, but then also kind of cleaning up, where we're headed. One thing I think we're still missing, at least as far as the future land use map, is I personally think the designation related to a portion of Harbor Island still is, industrial in our future is not what the community desires. I think it's probably more fair to say that the community is either going to desire some kind of natural or open space, or maybe some kind of mixed-use development over industrial development. So I think that's an area that we still should have, some updates on.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not extensively, because I think we're going to undergo a separate planning process for that in the near future, hopefully with some grant dollars, but
Okay.
At least designating that in some other way. I don't know what that label would look like, but I think that's an area that we could still touch on.
Okay, certainly.
I'm gonna stop you, Ryan, and James, I'm gonna ask you, we have to start, I'm not sure anyone explained this to you, but we have to start our regular meeting.
Yeah.
So we're gonna close the work session. We're gonna start our regular meeting. If you would stick around.
Yeah.
We will bring you back up as we get past the required beginning of our meeting.
Sounds good.
Is that
Put a
okay?
pin in it.
All right, thank you.
thanks.
Put a pin in it, that's right. Scott, you'll let me know? We're good to go? Okay. Good evening again, everyone. The regular City Council meeting of Grand Haven, Michigan, February 20th, 2023 is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Fritz,
Here.
Lowe,
Here.
McLaughlin, Cummins,
Here?
McNally.
Here. I thought it appropriate, as we open this meeting with a prayer, to remember the victims of the mass shooting at Michigan State University last week. And I'd just like to say their names. Ariel Anderson, 19, of Harper Woods, Michigan. Alexandria Verner, 20, of Clawson, Michigan. And Brian Fraser, 20, of Grosse Pointe, Michigan, who were killed in the incident. And also the 5 gunshot survivors who remain hospitalized in Lansing with serious and life-threatening injuries. Their names have not all been released, but we know 2 are international students from China, one of whom suffered paralyzing spinal cord injuries, and another is a young woman from a migrant family in Florida. Aside from the horror of these acts, these students and their families have immediate logistical needs. If you're in a position to help, there are a number of GoFundMe sites set up for their benefit, and please consider a donation. As we remember how this senseless violence sent shockwaves through our campus community, our state, our nation, and the world, please remember those affected in your prayers and channel your sadness and your anger in constructive ways to strengthen our community. If you haven't seen them yet, I recommend you Google Coach Tom Izzo's remarks at a vigil that was held Wednesday night at State's campus. He asked each person to use whatever platform he had to call for kindness, empathy, and inclusion. And that's my ask of the folks listening this evening. Please do what you can to promote community, kindness, and understanding as you go about your lives. As we learned last week, and as we seem to have been learning far too often of late, our world can change in the blink of an eye. Our invocation this evening will be delivered by Reverend Emmett Brown, Trinity Church in Grand Haven. And if you would, please rise and remain standing after for the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend Brown.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for this beautiful city that you've given us to call home. We thank you for all the amenities and the amazing places that we get to hang out and just be family and do community together. We thank you for these men and women who have given of themselves and of their free time to come in here and serve this community. Father, as we go into this time of work, Lord, we pray that personal ambitions be placed aside. Father, we pray that future goals and whatnot would be placed aside, but that we would focus on what is best for this community going forward. We pray, Lord, that you would make this a time that is fruitful to where the people of Grand Haven benefit. And all this, Father, we ask in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We've got 2 prospective new appointments to boards and commissions this evening. I would entertain a motion to confirm them.
So moved.
There's
Support.
Motion by Cummins, support from Lowe. Is there any discussion? I'd just like to thank both Nancy Collins and Tyler Jackson for volunteering. It amazes me every time I go through interviews for boards and commissions, what talent we have in this town and how kind they are about sharing it. That said, would the clerk please call the roll?
Cummins,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. This time I would entertain a motion to approve the consent and regular agendas.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Cummins, second by Lowe. I'm sorry, by Fritz. Any discussion? I've got one thing I'd like to pull off and move to new business if possible, and that is item K, which is the vacation of the Sherman right-of-way portions for the diesel plant project. I know Brian's here. I'd kind of like to get a little bit of a brief on that before I cast my vote. So any reservations about that, anybody?
Mayor,
Yes.
I do have a late additional request as well for an addition to the agenda.
Yes. Ashley.
In a more pressing issue in the interest of public safety and public health, I'd like your consideration to add a resolution to post pursuant to City Ordinance Section 25-5, Central Park and other City of Grand Haven property as necessary, no camping, bedrolls, tents, or temporary structures.
Okay, so there are one proposed amendment to the consent agenda and one addition to the regular agenda. We need a motion to support Ashley's recommendation. Is there one?
So moved.
Is there support?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. So, on the floor, we have a motion to amend basically the consent agenda and add an item to the regular agenda. You want to call the roll on that, please, Maria?
Lowe,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. And then we need, is that all I got for that, Maria, or do
Now
we
we have to vote on
We have to vote on
the
the motion.
agendas.
vote on the agendas as amended?
Yes.
And have I got I already have a motion for that, so,
Cummins,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McNally.
yes. Thank you. All right, this is the first call to the audience. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may call in at 616-935-3285. If it continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We will take all callers. Is there anyone who'd like to address council? Okay, let's move on to continuation. Got something?
No, I'm just, that's unheard of.
Where is everyone? Is it spring break?
Never had that happen before.
We're going to move back then to continuation of the work session. And A&E will,
Yes.
Progressive AE will guide us.
All right.
Please proceed.
So, Councilmember Cummings, I know you mentioned Harbor Island. That is something that I know has been a pressing planning issue. It wasn't incorporated into this plan, but I think in the future that will be a focus, certainly. And we can change the future land map if needed to reflect that. So with that, oh, I forgot the clicker. So with that, are there any other questions, comments?
Karen, do you have anything?
Yeah, it's just a comment. First of all, it looks wonderful. It's a lot to absorb, and so I want to thank you for providing some of the summaries for all of us who haven't been too intimately involved. I appreciate that, and I agree with Councilmember Cummins about the Harbor Island distinction. I think the people of Grand Haven have made that pretty clear that they want something other than industrial there. But beyond that, I guess I'm interested in the timing because quite naturally, I don't know how many pages this was, 98 pages or more. I'm slower than Councilmember Fritz, and I need a little time to absorb all of that. And so I'm interested in the timeline for approval and how much time we and the rest of the community can take to look at this thoroughly and understand some of those changes and before it goes through as an approval.
Yeah, certainly. And that's a great segue to where we talk about the timeline. So looking at it, so this meeting is, so on January 31st, the Planning Commission approved it to distribute out to the public. So this meeting is simply to take the Planning Commission and say, yep, it looks good. We're going to submit it to the public. And that begins a 63-day comment period where members of the public, we submit it to local jurisdictions, the county, local utilities, railroads, and really we're just asking, okay, what's your input now? What do you guys think? Did we get it right? And this is kind of the proposed timeline as it stands tonight. So February 20th, this is the City Council meeting. I hope that you all see fit that we can release it for public comment and get that. And following, so then it'll enter a 63-day public comment period. We'll publish notices in local newspaper, local media, and provide it to local jurisdictions so they can provide comment. And then looking towards May 9th, after that 63-day public comment period, we will have a public hearing at the Planning Commission, and that's where members of the public are invited to share what they think. Whether we got it right, is there anything we're missing? And the hope is that it has everything right first go around, and we can adopt it. And if that's the case, then we can bring it here May 15th for formal adoption.
Anything else, Karen?
Maybe just help me. So it goes out to both the public and to government bodies
Yes.
for approval. And they're providing comments back to you, and I presume that they may ask you to revise or quite possibly, and those minor revisions or whatever, how does that happen? Does that happen real time and something is posted so that the public continues to see the most updated copy,
Yes.
those kind of things?
That's a great question. So the master plan, this is the Planning Commission's document.
Right.
So this is theirs. They have ownership over it. So really, we're garnering feedback, for the Planning Commission. And the Planning Commission, they can take it and they can say, yep, they're right. We should probably act on that, and that's a good idea. Or, it's their ability to say, well, we don't think that's right. We think it's good as is, and adopt it, and then it comes before this body.
Gotcha, so that'll happen, that iteration will happen within the Planning Commission, and then what will come to us is at the end of all of that.
That's correct.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
The one thing that I found interesting, I also was on the team that helped develop this, and I struggled with the concept that we're only updating certain sections of it, because when you came out with it initially, the new improved version, I read it cover to cover the way I read things, which is rather meticulous. And what I found is there are sections we haven't updated that are outdated, and I just basically pen and inked everything. I saw that there are odd things in there, like we're still generating power at the Sims plant, So some big things, not that many, but overall, I think that the changes we've made are good changes and reflect reality of the way the community is developing, and I think also the preference for how the community would like to develop. So I think that part was good. I think we're going to need to get eventually our arms around the other sections. I guess that's what I'm saying. But this was an exercise for several of the sections, and I think the discussions that took place were great discussions. And I would not say, what I've learned, unfortunately, is that there's a relatively small number of people who actually pay attention to what's going on. And to be frank, before I was elected to office, I was not among them. So, I think it's great that we got some people involved in the survey process, but I think overall we are trusted here and in the Planning Commission to look out for the community, and I think I didn't see anything in this that was alarming, and I saw some things that I think are good changes. So thank you.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was just going to say, community feedback, it is a challenge in every community. It's not just a Grand Haven thing. And that's definitely, it can be a struggle to really get people to come out and share their voice. So, yes, sir.
Well, I just want to say is that now is the time for the people out there listening and watching also. If you guys have anything that you see out there you might want to, is contact us and let us know. This is the time period that we really like to see if they really did hit it on a nail, right on the head, and make sure it works good, if that's what the people want. So if the people really see something that they're not very familiar with or something, please send us an email or ask a question and send it out to the city here and let us know for sure. This is the time period now. You got 63 days, if I remember correctly, right? Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of time for you to look it over. It's going to be distributed out there. Take a good look at it and make sure that it fits what the city wants. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure we get it right this time around. That's all we need. Thank you so very much for all your hard work and everybody that was involved. I really, really appreciate it.
All right. Yes.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to, first of all, thank the Mayor McNally for having that critical read, because I think the approach that we all agreed was the prudent approach was to leverage as much of that 2017 master plan, because it was very, very well done, and include all the relevant sections, and then focus on the ones that we really knew were important to the community to change. And you did just that. But we do need a few eagle eyes, like Mayor McNally, to read through the whole thing to make sure we catch things like something that's not in existence. And so
I'm not volunteering for that one again.
I know, but I just want to say thank you, and to anyone else out there that wants to kind of go through that, that would be probably well appreciated by the
Yep.
Planning Commission and all involved. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for adhering to that prudent approach, because that's what we asked you to do. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Some of that stuff was really, really good. So thank you for your approach, and thank you, Mayor McNally, for doing some proofing on that.
Anybody got anything else? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Yep. Okay. We've got a presentation on the proposed fiscal year 2023-2024 fee schedule draft by Emily Green, our finance director.
Yes.
Hi, Emily.
Green,
How are you?
Finance Director. Good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So the fee schedule is the first draft that was included in the agenda, and I just have some minor, I guess, information to share. The changes, as we did last year, are highlighted in the purple. So if you can click, thank you. Just to show, changes are highlighted in purple. If there are new items that are listed, the purple is the whole way across, and then the fees listed under the 2023-24 are as purple as well. If they are items that were in last year's or previous years, the purple is along the side.
Hang on 1 second, Emily.
Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, you're good, thanks.
Thanks. So the fees are highlighted in purple. You'll notice that a lot of fees have changed in this first draft. It's a draft, it's a working copy to start with. A couple notes that I wanted to share. We are looking, I'm continuing to talk with staff to make sure, and departments to make sure that our costs are covered, et cetera. Specifically the cemetery fees, and it turns out our cemetery fees, I know there were questions about the cemetery fees, and the fees that are listed in the fee schedule do cover the costs. So that should be set. In the marina fees, just a note on that, the last increase that I saw was in fiscal year 18-19. So you will, in this document that I sent, the increases are not in there. I would propose a $5 per item increase, at least. Other than that, like I said, staff is continuing to work with me and to look at this. So if you have any questions, I can help answer them.
Anybody got questions? Mike? Karen? I found the purple very helpful.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be purple, but some highlighting of what's changed was very helpful. Thank you, Emily. I think you guys did a great
Helpful
job.
as well. It was a good change from last year.
No, I think it all looks reasonable. You know, I had concerns on some of these that, as I told you, that we weren't, it seemed to me we couldn't possibly be covering, you know, some of the costs. So thank you for taking an additional look at those, and thank you to the department heads for doing so as well.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Emily. All right, moving on. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Quick read it first, Mayor.
Oh, yep, I will have her read it. I was going to do that after the motion, but that's okay.
Okay.
Would you read it for us,
Yes.
please? Maria?
Item A, approve council regular meeting minutes of January 17 and February 6, 2023. B, approve the bills memo in the amount of $1,340,400.44. C, approve a resolution designating Duncan Park as an old-growth forest and recognizing the park as a member of the Old Growth Forest Network. D, approve a resolution to award the low bid contract to Michigan Paving and Materials of Grand Rapids, Michigan in the amount of $467,827.65, and authorize city staff to add additional road segments if not in the not-to-exceed budgeted amount of $493,910. E, approve a resolution to authorize DHE Plumbing and Mechanical of Granville, Michigan to provide materials and services required to remove, reconstruct, and replace the Now's water filtration plants failing finished water meter number 1 and failed 30-inch distribution valve at a cost of $89,400 and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the necessary documents. F, approve a resolution to receive and confirm a power purchase commitment and commitment authorization by the Board of Light and Power for battery energy storage systems under its Energy Service Project Agreement with MPPA. G, approve a special event request to hold the Earl O'Brien Memorial Fishing Derby on Thursday, May 25, 2023, from 5 a.m. until 1 p.m., using 20 parking spaces in the Chinook Pier parking lot and apply a $200 discount to the parking lot rental fee as outlined in the City of Grand Haven special event policy. H, approve a special event request to hold Praise by the Pier at the Lynn Sherwood Waterfront Stadium on Sundays from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., beginning June 18, 2023, through August 27, 2023. Reserve 5 parking spaces in the marina parking lot and apply a $500 discount to the rental fees, as outlined in the City of Grand Haven special event policy. I, approve a special event request to hold the Sounds of Summer concert series in Bolt Park each Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. from June 20, 2023 through August 8, 2023, except Coast Guard Festival Week and 4th of July, and apply a $500 discount to the park rental fee as outlined in the City of Grand Haven special event policy. J, authorize the draft master plan to be distributed for 63-day public comment as required per the Michigan Planning Enabling Act.
Can I get a motion to
So moved.
approve the consent agenda? Is there support?
Support?
Call the roll, please, Maria.
Fritz,
Oh, I'd like to say a few things if you don't
Oh,
mind
yep, go ahead.
before we vote on it.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say the Earl O'Brien Memorial Fishing Derby, which is a good event. Earl is a good friend of mine, and it's a good event we have here. And also, I love music, and I also want to say thank you for the Sounds of Summer, WAWL, putting that on for the community, also having a free concert again. So that's what I'd like to say. And then, yes, I would vote yes for all this.
Yeah, I want to echo the comments on the Sounds of Summer in Bolt Park. I mean, Eric's been doing that for a number of years, bringing free live entertainment to the east end of town, in addition to other places. And, you know, it's kind of part of that catalyst, right? How many folks now are going to be able to have dinner, go to the concert, maybe stop, you know, buy Berserk afterwards, or do it in reverse, or one way or another. I mean,
Or Norms.
Yeah, or Norms. Grab some ice cream afterwards too. So, a lot of this community that's happening on the east side of town. And I also want to thank the Board of Light and Power and their work in bringing forth a battery energy storage system to count towards our capacity. I appreciate that movement and that work with the Michigan Public Power Agency and bringing that to us. So thank you.
Karen, you got anything?
I agree with the statements that both my fellow council members made. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
we're going to start over and call the roll for me. Maria, thanks.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. All right. Maria, would you read new business item A, please?
Consideration by City Council of a resolution to approve the professional services agreement with Abbenmarsh for the preparation of a drinking water asset management plan and assistance with undertaking the city's distribution system material investigation in the not-to-exceed amount of $308,915 and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the necessary documents. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
Have your concerns been?
Yes, they have. Yes, thank you very much. I think there's still a little tweaking to do, but I think there's been really good communication between our staff, the city attorney, and their attorneys, and yes, thank you. All right, call the roll, please.
Fritz,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Maria, would you read new business item B?
Consideration by City Council of an introductory resolution to amend sections 2-139 through 2-142 of the Grand Haven Code of Ordinances to amend the city's purchasing procedure. Administration recommends approval.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
There's
In support.
Okay, discussion?
When was the last time we updated these? I think it's been quite a few years. I remember, geez,
2018.
2018.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
5
been,
years.
it's been a while, and things have changed pretty considerably. Cost of everything has gone up, and you need to increase the limits a little bit so we keep our city functioning in a safe and prudent manner. So I'm pretty okay with all of this.
And again, as is currently, the bill review committee would still see any purchase order or over 1,500 as a good measure of a check and balance.
Brian, got anything?
No, and obviously, I mean, the council still has to appropriate dollars for specific purposes, so I mean, there's still oversight in that perspective too. But, hey, costs going up, and we have to trust our staff to do the due diligence, and I think these limits seem reasonable to me. I don't have any concern.
Aaron?
Yeah, I'm okay with them as well.
I'm trusting our eagle-eyed finance director and her staff to keep a close eye on things, but I think it basically is in line with the reality of what things are costing now and the number of transactions our city has to do to move forward. So thank you for bringing this to us, Emily, and I think we're ready to vote.
Cummins,
Yes.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes.
That was just the first reading anyway, so we got one more crack at it. Right?
All right, new business C. I'll do the consent agenda item first. New business C, approve a resolution of intent to vacate a portion of Sherman Avenue right-of-way, a portion of Harbor Drive right-of-way, and the underdeveloped right-of-way known as Sandpiper Drive as described as the initial survey in the buy-sell agreement with CL Real Estate LLC dated June 6, 2022.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Their support?
Support?
Okay. I'm the one who asked. Brian, could you just run us through why this is necessary and whether there are options? And I guess my other question would be, once we give away a right-of-way, can we ever take it back? I mean, 40 years from now, or 50 or 100 years from now, if that building comes down, do we get our right-of-way back? Or I am the person who looks at things in the way of, I'm the defense person, all right, trying to make sure that our interests are protected, and this came to me a little bit out of left field, though I do recall when we were talking about the purchase agreement that some of these issues came up, but I'm not sure I understood the mechanics of how this would work. So can you give us?
Brian Urquhart, city planner. As you know, I was not here when this whole thing started. Now there was Ashley, so we kind of were doing a lot of historical research in this when the buy-sell agreement was drafted with consultation with the city attorney. So originally, there was an initial survey that was included in the packet that showed where we wanted the right-of-way to be to properly sell this building and the land. And so what Ashley has up on the screen right now is what the right-of-way technically looks like. And you can see it dissects this property, including a undeveloped street, or what is sometimes referred to as a paper street, as right-of-way, as Sandpiper Drive. Speaking with Derek, speaking with the BLP, having that vacated is not a problem, provided the easements are granted for the use of public or private utilities, and that's all spelled out in the buy-sell agreement. Once that is vacated, no, we cannot get it back, but there's no intention to utilize that right-of-way. So Ashley, if you would actually scroll down to the right-of-way picture again, you can see where the actual structure is kind of highlighted, or the parcel, I should say, that's in blue. part of it's non-conforming, it's within the right-of-way. Harbor Drive, for whatever reason, when it was platted, was 82 feet wide. We're reducing that to a standard, I believe, 60 feet, 33 feet, well, Matt's not here, 33 feet from center, and therefore we have it consistently, have enough room, and able to incorporate the proper setback distance for that building in the waterfront 2 zone, which means there's a Bill 2 zone, be able to incorporate that. And then as Sherman Street was developed, the right-of-way shows straight, but it's actually curvilinear. So that was drawn up, that was all crafted as part of the agreement to sell. And then looking through the language, I was like, I think we need to probably vacate this right away in order to execute the actual sale. And so, hallelujah, the Planning Commission approved the site plan on Tuesday with the condition that this rights-of-way and streets be vacated. So as it stands, the first step in my memo is say, all right, are we okay as a council to set this back to Planning Commission to hold a public hearing and have them hold a public hearing and declare their intent to vacate the right-of-way, then ultimately it comes back to City Council for final approval of the street vacation. So it was all incorporated. It was, I think it wasn't directly spelled out in the buy-sell agreement, but it was definitely required, and I confirmed with Ron, our legal counsel, of the steps to doing that, and it says this is definitely necessary in order to execute this project.
So the harbor right-of-way is 88 feet, and we're reducing it to 66.
It was 82 feet
82
wide,
feet.
and then
Okay.
as it goes, I don't know if you want to scroll up, Ashley, I'm sorry. You'll see on the map,
And the right-of-way actually goes right through the existing building.
it goes right through the building,
So
and
the harbor one I don't have any trouble with, except for the fact that in my wildest dreams, someday I would love to see bike paths along harbor going to the beach. And every inch we give up of harbor means that gets harder. So
Yeah.
it may never come, but, so harbor, but was the Sherman Avenue also, and Sandpiper Drive, I don't have a problem with. It looks like it runs nowhere right through the property. How about, but Sherman, was it also overly wide, or are we reducing that below
It's
standard?
encroached, if I remember right, isn't it encroached by the building also?
correct, it cuts
The
right
building comes
through.
in, yes.
So-
That's why we're vacating it.
So when a property's under a building of this age and under single ownership for years and years, this problem never came up. Now that it's changed, it's, well, we gotta make a correction, and it makes sense to align the street, shape with the proper width to allow for that on the south side. Now, the proposed boundary was accepted by Grand Power Works, which is the CL Lakewoods, is that they agreed to that. Portions of it the building will encroach into the right-of-way, which will call for an encroachment permit application. But it was the most complete, and this was all kind of derived originally with the staff. I think Derek, Jennifer, and Pat all kind of came up with this, with the original survey as part of the buy-sell agreement to accomplish is what is appropriate for the land to match the streets and allow for enough of the building to remove any nonconformities, therefore then preserving the building, which was obviously highlighted in the community survey and why City Council went with that decision,
So we're still gonna end up with them filing some kind of encroachment permit?
yeah, there's
But
just,
we don't think they should file an encroachment, just a bigger encroachment permit? You
I-
think this is the right thing to do?
I think this-
And Ron says this is consistent with the deal we struck with them in the purchase agreement.
this is probably what is the right thing to do, is just never specifically detailed in the buy-sell agreement. It's just going, like you said, through that fine tooth and really review the details and getting the execution, getting past some of the broader schemes and scopes to get there, to say, okay, this is execution, and have a condition of approval for site plan and have it recorded. Therefore, when goes to closing, there's no open ends there on that aspect.
I'm good if you guys are.
Yeah, I mean, the buy-sell agreement couldn't have, waived any of our zoning requirements or our other ordinance requirements, which our ordinances require that in order to vacate streets, it has to go through this process. So that's why that was kind of laid out
Correct.
that way. We couldn't simply state, here's the survey, we agreed with. Right now, we had to follow those proper processes and coming to an agreement while maintaining the fact that we had ordinances that we couldn't supersede with an agreement.
But I think we provided the buyer with a survey that indicated this was the parcel of land we would convey, and it sounds like this is the best way to do it. And that, I understand that latter part, Ryan. I'm just concerned about, is there a, I'm gonna call it a less, it's okay, I'm good with where we are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, the way they drew it up was, they're really focused on, okay, where's the center of Sherman, where's the center of Harbor, and at least, typically, I think it's like 66 foot, but
66, yeah.
from the center line towards the diesel plant on Sherman and on South Harbor, they're getting that 33 foot on that side of it.
Right.
Now, on the other side, maybe we're short, and perhaps you could make up some of that on the Harbor Drive
It's a drop.
portion, but
There's a topography issue. There's a slope, but it's okay. The other issue I have is that sidewalk, which has been brought up at public meetings we've been at, is really tight to the street. And I think we're planning to the extent possible, move the sidewalk off the street a little bit, but we won't be able to do it right by the building, because frankly, the building is right up against the street, so, or with a very narrow sidewalk between.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm good. Anybody else?
this is just an intent. Planning Commission will take a look, and then ultimately we would have a separate public hearing and can still change our mind if we so choose. But
This helps preserve the building and puts it all on one map for them, so.
It
that
helps.
parcel's interesting.
Anytime you can eliminate
Puts it all together
nonconformities,
for them.
That's the parcel.
anytime you can eliminate nonconformities is a good thing. And that's what
Absolutely.
it's for. And I did ask Ryan, just to go on your point, did the buy-sell agreement usurp that process? And it was pretty clear, the code of ordinances say shall be vacated. And
Yep.
so that was a conversation I had with him prior to this planning commission approval, knowing that needed to be a condition of approval.
Okay, that helps me. Thank you very much, Brian. We good? Maria, please call the roll.
Fritz,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes.
New business item D, consideration by City Council of a resolution to post pursuant to City Ordinance Section 25-5, Central Park and other City of Grand Haven property as necessary, no camping, bedrolls, tents, or temporary structures.
Ashley, you got something for us?
Can I get a
Make a
motion first?
motion.
Yep. Can we
I'll
get-
make a
thank you,
motion.
Mike. A motion?
Support.
Okay.
Yeah, just very briefly again, this is at the recommendation of Public Safety. It's currently a gray area within our ordinance and looking to clarify in again, just generally the sense of public safety and public health.
Okay. Any discussion? I guess I'd like to say something. And I think Chief put it pretty well in his memo. This is, if we post the park, what it will allow us to do is legally remove the homeless man who's been camping in the park. And I think all of us have struggled, at least I have, and I know Ashley and I have talked about it a lot. Chief and I have talked about it a bit. We've struggled with the idea of what we can do to help, and also with the idea of there are issues with encampments in our parks. So I think there are services we would like to connect this person with, but he's not exhibited any interest in being connected to the services. And I think that his behavior has escalated somewhat and caused our Chief of Public Safety to have concerns about leaving him where he is. So that being said, Did that bring anything out for anyone else? Maria, would you please call the roll?
Fritz,
Yes?
Lowe,
Yes.
Cummins,
Yes.
McNally.
Yes. Okay. I think it's report by city council. Who'd like to go first? I'll look for a volunteer.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor, for your comments at the beginning of the meeting related to the devastating shooting at Michigan State University. It was a week ago today, and I was in a meeting in another community, and my phone started to get all the news notifications coming through, and that one hit home in a different way because I'm a Spartan. I know that campus. When I saw the deputy chief on TV, I used to remember, him as an officer, as a canine officer for Michigan State, and to see where he's at now, and to know the buildings, know the campus, see familiar faces. That one, it's hit home in a different way. So thank you for your words. I think you put it very well, and so thank you for that.
Put it
So,
better, but thanks.
fair enough. Yes. So. The other thing I want to touch on this evening is, I think Chief Hawk put it very well with his words in calling the graffiti, the nature of the graffiti that found its way in various parts of our town last night as disgusting. This is not what this community represents. I appreciate our public safety getting right on this, and I hope that their investigation is successful in finding the individual or individuals who are responsible. The comments in particular do not represent this community's values, and it's hurtful to see that being on any portion or in any portion of this community, let alone on our city property and city signage. So thank you for your staff and working to get this corrected as quickly as possible, and for our public safety working to hopefully find these individuals. I'm sure with the community's help. And I appreciate the very quick update this morning too. That was important to know right off the bat. So thank you for that. That's all I'll say at this point.
Mike?
Yes, I want to say thank you very much for the comments you had very beginning here. I just also like to say my deepest condolences go out to the family all there and everybody else that was involved in it. And this madness in America has to come to an end some way or another. I had a conversation with you earlier, and I think we need to start a conversation here amongst ourselves in our communities and let us know that violence like this is not civilized. It's not we're not a civilization that does that. We don't need to have violence. Every day there's shootings. Just recently, another one down in Battle Creek down there, 13 and 14-year-old shoots a 17-year-old. Come to find out they had, it's crazy. How do they do that? We need to start, I says, we got to find an answer to this. I don't have the answer, I'm sure, but we need to start a conversation. That's what I like to hear. Maybe for us to start doing that. It's not good. And then also, I have to echo what you said, Ryan, about the vandalism that we had occurred this past night. It's not us. And anybody has any kind of information, please let us know. We do have, if you looked at the thing, there's a $500 reward to help find the vandals that did this to us. It's not what we have, and it's time for us to get a hold of things. This whole world's going crazy. But also on report, today was full squad day at the Tigers. And the first game's coming up against Philadelphia, so that'd be their start to see what the season looks like. And also, this is the last year of Miguel Cabrera. He is retiring this year, so I have utmost respect for the man.
Good.
That's it.
Thank you, Mike. Karen?
I too would like to thank Mayor McNally for her remarks. I they couldn't be more spot on about the tragedy at Michigan State. As a Spartan mom, I can tell you that that shooting was just my worst nightmare. And I just really, our hearts and prayers go out to the families of all the shooting victims, 3 students who were killed and the other 5 who remain hospitalized. Just, and I agree with you. You know, these kind of things have to stop. You know, it's just shocking. And on, I guess on another note, just as an update, on Tuesday, February 7th, Mayor Pro Tem Cummins and I, along with some key city staff, attended the Chamber of Commerce's 2023 Economic Outlook presentation by Professor Paul Isley, Seidman College of Business at Grand Valley. Very insightful, and I encourage any of you, I believe that you can go to the Chamber site, and is that right, Maria? And view the presentation, and I highly encourage everyone to look at that. It was very insightful about what is going on within Grand Haven. We have a housing problem that makes it hard to solve our talent and employee problem for our, businesses. We've got people exiting, especially younger people moving out of Michigan, not just Western Michigan, but they're exiting Grand Haven faster than they are Holland and Muskegon. And so you have to start to look at some of this and say, what does this tell us? We need to work to attract young families. We need to try to, yes, the property values can go up, but if they go up too fast, they price people out of the market, and that affects all of us, all of our businesses. So anyway, very, very insightful information. I encourage you all to take a deeper look at it, and as I think it is going to drive a lot of what this council will need to do in the next few years. It was also good to see many of you out on the East End last Thursday evening. It was a snowy evening, but with some great music at Halfway to Walk the Beat. I just want to give a shout out and a special thank you to some of the 6 sponsoring venues: the Clover Bar, Sporty's, Unicorn Tavern, Berserk, Fricano's, and the Highway Inn. It was a lot of fun. And I guess last, I just want to say, with my fellow council members, I am truly grateful to be living in the city of Grand Haven and honored to represent all of you as a council member. As I look at some of the stuff that's happening, I have to agree with Council Member Fritz, but I also believe that what unites us is greater than what divides us. And I think we can do anything as a community coming together. We may not agree all the time on the how, but I know, and I know this of all the my fellow council members, that they have the best interest of the city at heart, and that each of us can set aside some of our own personal biases to do what's right. And I'm really proud of this council for that. So thank you for allowing us to serve you.
Okay, I have just a couple things. Last week, I met with 6 promising middle school students with a YMCA Youth and Government delegation. They had a strong interest in how government works and an interest perhaps in serving at different levels of government as adults. They grilled me for an hour and a half, and they asked really hard questions. The only one I was sure I answered right was, what's my favorite food? So our city manager and I met with Mike Westbrook, the chair of the Board of Light and Power, to discuss mediation between City Council and the Board of Light and Power, which was one of the HRC recommendations we approved at our last meeting. Our plan is to schedule a council work session, just a council work session, to explore how to approach this issue. And I think we're probably looking at our first March meeting. Is that right, Ashley?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we need to discuss it as a council and figure out how to address it. Boards and commissions, I am actively working with great support from the city clerk's office, thank you very much, Maria, on a slate of nominations for board and commission terms that expire June 30th. I would give myself a not very high mark for dealing with the boards and commission appointments that expired last June 30th. We lost a clerk in the middle of that. I was a new mayor and didn't know what questions to ask, but I watched how it worked. I wasn't very happy, and now Maria and I are in sync, and I think we'll have a better slate at the first meeting in June. It won't maybe get every board and commission, but the appointment that's expiring, but I should have the bulk of them laid out. And while I'm speaking to this group and whoever may be listening, there will be some openings on most of the boards and commissions, maybe not all, but most. So if you've ever wanted to serve on a board and commission, get on the city website or come into the city clerk's office and get a paper application and fill it out and submit it. And it will, if you tell me what you're interested in, I promise if there's an opening, there'll be an interview. We'll go forward from there. In the meantime, last meeting I said we had a library board appointment. We just filled a zoning board of appeals appointment. I have a couple of openings on the Human Relations Commission. They do good work. Their mission is to encourage, promote, and cause mutual understanding, sensitivity, awareness, and respect among all groups in the city and beyond, and to prevent discrimination and disorder and give effect to the guarantee of equal rights for all. So if that's something that appeals to you, that it's an issue that matters to you, and you want to take Coach Izzo's advice and promote understanding in your community, fill out an application to sit on the Human Relations Commission. Thank you very much. That's all I got. Ashley?
Just wanted to say, as we begin to bring pieces of the budget to you and before you, just on behalf of both Emily and I, we appreciate your support and your patience as we go through it as our first go around, each individually and as a unit. So if at any time there's any comments, suggestions, feedback, we are incredibly open and receptive to that. But again, just appreciate your patience.
Okay. I think we got a second call to the audience. At this time, members of the audience may address council on any item, whether on the agenda or not. Those addressing council are asked to provide their name and address and will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Those not physically present who would like to may dial 616-935-3285. If the phone continues ringing, please remain on the line until your turn. We'll take all callers. Anybody got anything they want to say to council? Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike Dora, 501 Fryan Street, Grand Haven, former council member and current chair of the Planning Commission. I would just like to thank council for the time they have spent looking over the master plan up to date so far and in the future for the next 63 days. How they come up with that number, I'm not sure, but 63 days it is. And I also would like to thank all of the community members that served on the steering committee as well for donating their time and the effort they put in to get us to where we are with it today. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
I'm going to